Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Eloise and I'm here with Aaron, and today we're talking about approaching weight loss as if you knew you couldn't fail.
It's quite an interesting concept that we definitely didn't think of in the beginning.
It's definitely something we didn't know.
No, that's right. And it's a concept that a lot of people don't think about either. You know, they come at it with weight loss is always going to be something that's just not possible for them, and they come at it with the mindset of like they're never going to achieve it.
Yeah.
And so this is a flip on that thought.
Yeah, because most people approach it, as Aaron said, from the lens of it's something that's not going to work for me. And then when they don't see results, they then turn around and they go, well, see, I didn't see the results. See, I knew that it wasn't going to happen. The problem is that we actually create that situation for ourselves from believing it's not going to happen.
Yeah, because your thoughts essentially create the reality that you experience.
Something we talk about a lot. We talk about it a lot because it's true.
Yeah. Well, one of the major thing that we talk a lot about, and we've spoken about in previous episodes, is the whole concept of if you believe something, your brain is going to try and find you the evidence to prove you correct. So your problem-solving brain can be used for good, and it can also be used for bad as well. Like it can work you up and it can work you down. This is a representation of that in the flesh. So if a lot of people come at it with the mindset of it's not going to work, they're going to find the reasons why it's not going to work, and they're going to find all the thoughts. They're going to have all the thoughts. They're going to find all the evidence to prove themselves correct.
Exactly. And what happens when we find that evidence for why it's not working or why it's not going to work, or we focus on those beliefs and those thoughts of this isn't going to work for me, what if this doesn't work? What we do is we start taking actions that creates that result for ourselves.
Yeah.
So if we have this belief that we think that it's going to be really difficult and probably isn't going to work for us anyway, what we'll find is that we'll actually skip certain things. So we'll be like, well, this small action probably won't make a difference anyway, so I'll just skip it today.
Yeah.
And what we do is through the repetition of skipping little things here and there, and not necessarily giving our full energy to something, because it's like, well, what if I give my full energy and I fail? What we do is we actually create the result for ourselves of not seeing results.
Yeah. So think about a year from now, if you just stuck to doing X, Y, Z, if you knew without a shadow of a doubt that that is going to work, how would you approach that every single day? You'd likely be more consistent. You'd be doing those small actions that kind of seem insignificant in the moment, but you know that if you just do these things, you will 100% get the result. Your whole mindset and your whole outlook on it would completely flip around and change.
Yes, that's definitely something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, because in the past I was definitely one of those people who was like, look, I'm going to give it a go. It's probably not going to work. I had this thing in the back of my mind of like, look, I'm probably going to fail. So therefore, I don't want to put myself 100% out there, because it's going to be pretty embarrassing when I fail after I've told everyone that I'm going to lose this weight or I'm going to achieve whatever your goal is, really. You know, there's that fear of like, well, if I fail, what are people going to think of me?
Yeah.
And again, going back to it, it's like we then create that experience for ourselves rather than giving our best and seeing what happens.
That's right.
We create the failure. If you acted as if there was no way you could fail, and you decided, look, I'm going to give this weight loss journey 100% of my effort, I'm going to go all in every single day, you'd probably find yourself doing a lot more things when you didn't feel like doing them. Because rather than thinking, well, this small thing isn't going to matter, you're approaching it with the thought of this small thing is making a difference.
Yeah.
I understand the impact, and I feel like the promise of future results is there, rather than immediate comfort, which is where we go to when we're scared of failing.
Yeah.
When we have that fear of failure and we think, well, it's not going to work anyway, we get into this defeated mindset, this hopeless sort of mindset, where we tend to gravitate towards immediate comforts. And what is that for most of us? It's food. And so what happens when we gravitate to the immediate comfort of food without considering our future self? We gain weight.
That's right. We get back into the cycle.
I have played this out so many times in my life, and I see so many other people playing this out in their life as well. And it's usually people who are often talking about how they want to lose weight, but they have that fear in the back of their mind of, well, I really want it, but I don't think it's possible for me. Cue the subconscious sabotage.
Yeah, that's right. And it's often very hard to sort of get out of that mindset initially. Basically, let's say you've gone through a number of programs, like you've gone through unaware of this going on, and you've basically found all the evidence to prove yourself correct. So your brain's going like, hey, you are correct in what you believe, because here's all the evidence I've got for you. The only way to really change that is to change that script. Change what your brain is looking for and start looking for, instead of reasons why you can't do something, look for the reasons why you can do something, why it will work, why you will succeed, as long as you stick to doing the things that you know you need to do. And they might seem insignificant, but you're having faith in yourself that you're taking one foot in front of the other, and you're doing things day to day, and it's going to pay off.
Yeah. And the way that I like to look at it as well is like, we can't tell the future. So I can't tell you, I'm 100% confident that I'm going to lose the weight or you're going to lose the weight. We can't tell the future, but that's irrelevant in this situation. Because what happens is, if you start taking those actions as if there's no way you can fail, you're essentially almost guaranteed to win. You are guaranteed to see results if you take the action every single day. There's just like no downside here.
Yeah. You're going to get wisdom and you're going to get knowledge just from taking the action consistently.
Well, just think about how much further ahead you would be if you decided today, okay, I'm going to go all in on my weight loss journey, and I'm going to become the person who does all of the habits and who builds slowly over time and who talks kindly to myself, who gets straight back up after I have a setback rather than sitting there and dwelling on it, and who doesn't quit. I'm the type of person who doesn't quit. That is something that I write in my journal every single day. I write that I'm the type of person who doesn't quit. And I've managed to stick to my own journey for almost 2 years now. I have not quit. And that is a great example of this in action, because it's that idea of, even if 2 years down the track I'm not at my goal weight specifically, I am 1,000 times further ahead of where I would have been if I sat back and said, well, it's probably not going to work, I'm just going to give up.
Yeah.
If you do that, you're guaranteed to fail. You're guaranteed to never move forward. Whereas if you give it a go, you can't lose. So it baffles me, and I was there as well. So if you are feeling like that, I understand. But I also, now that I know what I do, and now that I have actually given myself a go of being patient with myself and allowing the process and acting as if there's no way I can fail, and it doesn't matter how long it's going to take. Now that I know that, it baffles me that people will sit there and say, well, I'm just not sure that this is going to work, and I feel like I probably just should quit because I'm not seeing results.
That's right.
There's no way for you to win if you do that.
You're just cutting yourself preemptive.
Exactly.
Before the results are coming in, and that's the key thing is a lot of people quit right before they're actually starting to get the results.
Exactly. There's this fantastic image, and I know that you're listening on a podcast and you can't see an image, but you might have seen it. It's this guy with a pickaxe, and he's cutting through the rock, and from our perspective of seeing what he's doing, we can see that he's just a few feet away from the gems, and he's cutting through. And in one scenario, he cuts through and he gives up, and he goes, this is just taking too long, I'm never going to get there. And he's like centimeters away from these gems.
Yeah.
And then obviously in the other alternative image, he just does a few more goes and he gets the gems and gets the gold. And I think that's a fantastic example, because you never know when you're just one step away from that breakthrough.
That's right. And it's just being consistent and showing up regardless. And I think the big thing is the expectation of results.
Yeah.
So people have high expectations of themselves, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But the time frame in which they expect a lot of these things to happen is really not realistic. So if we actually look at a weight loss example, most people have gained weight over a significant period of time. But then they have the expectation that, if they do a 4 or 6 week program, that they'll lose all of that weight miraculously in a short period of time. And it just doesn't work like that. And then when they don't see, the massive drops in weight loss, they give up and they go, well, it's not working,
Yeah.
But it is working. It's just not working to the time frame that you expected it to work.
Exactly. And I think the reason a lot of us have these set time frames is like a lot of the marketing around weight loss sets us up for these unrealistic expectations. We see, I lost 50 pounds in 2 weeks. And it's like, okay, but then what happened? We never see the after. And the after is usually when you lose weight super fast, it's probably not going to be sustainable.
Yeah.
And if you do manage to keep it off, you're probably going to be worried the whole time about how or whether you might gain it back. Because when you do it sustainably, you actually build the version of yourself over time and you become that person who has no problem with maintaining their weight anymore. And that is what's happened to me. Whereas when you lose it so quickly, you've always got this fear in the back of your mind that, I won't be able to maintain this. Or what happens if I gain it back? Like, if you build slowly, it's like there's no fear anymore because you've become that person.
Yeah.
You can't do that when it's overnight.
When it's done really quickly, or you try to take a hack to get there really fast, you skip over the time needed to form habits that then later on allow you to keep those results for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same sort of scenario, even in a business sense, right? Like we, as business owners who run our own business, like we get bombarded by all these ads about how to go from broke to a millionaire in like 2 weeks. And it's not really realistic. They've got like one person that's done it and it was a fluke. And then you've got all these other people that are trying to do the same thing and they have these expectations. Whereas contrast to that, if you look at, say, business owners who have been in business for a long period of time, they've got big businesses, they've all said the same thing. Like, it takes time. Like, you've got to spend the time putting in the hours, putting in the work day after day. Anyone who's got good results in the gym or that's lost a lot of weight, that's kept it off for a long period of time, if you actually sit down and ask them, what's your secret? Most of them will say, just be consistent. That is the number one thing. Show up every
day. Just don't quit.
Have faith in yourself that you will actually achieve it, and just show up every single day, no matter what.
Yeah, because as we said, if you do that, there is really no way to lose. There's zero downside. The question is, why wouldn't you do that?
That's right.
Why wouldn't you act as if you knew you couldn't fail? So if you're sitting there right now and you're wondering how you can start putting this into practice for yourself, what we'd recommend is to grab a piece of paper and start writing down a list of all of the things that you would do differently. How would you approach your weight loss journey differently if you knew without a doubt that in a year's time from now you were going to reach your goal?
So guys, that's it for today. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode and you've got a few takeaways from it. We will both see you in the next episode.